Yes, people, welcome back to another video on Thai Sports, where today we're talking about potential strikers for Manchester United. It's obviously been widely reported by Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United are now going to complete the Brian and Mbeumo deal, but then they want a striker next. And we need a striker. That is the truth. Manchester United are in a position right now where they need to go into the new season with a striker ready to compete with Rasmus Højlund if he stays and Joshua Zirkzee, who definitely will be staying at the football club. But Manchester United need to transform that front three. We need goals. Last season, less than 50 goals, I believe it was in the league. One of our lowest scoring seasons ever at the football club. That has to change. That has to change from the coaching side, but also from the individual side. Confidence, the ability to finish, teamwork, unselfishness, because we had a lot of selfish players in our team last season. We need to now become a team, and that means transforming the side, bringing in players. And right now, we've got 2 out of the 3. Brian and Mbeumo, 26 years of age, as we know, people will be joining. Matthias Cunha, already at the football club, playing today in the first game against Leeds in our friendly. But now attention's turned to a striker. So, guys, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you get your comments in as well. Because I want to see what sort of striker people want. Because at the end of this video, I am gonna come to a decision of what I think is the best solution for Man United, but I don't think there's a right solution. I think the striker market is quite poor at the moment. I do think that whoever you go for, there's going to be question marks raised. There's going to be people agreeing or disagreeing. But this is football at the end of the day. And this is why we talk about it, because I don't feel like there's a signing out there right now that everyone will be like, yes, I'm 100% all in. I think Victor Osimhen would be the only one, but he isn't coming to us. So I've got to put him out of the conversation. I think if Victor Osimhen come to Manchester United, all Manchester United fans would be like, yeah, I'm on board with this. One of the hottest strikers in Europe, peak age right now, coming from Galatasaray, he's just won the league and he's done his thing at Napoli. African strikers normally, or African players in the Premier League normally have a successful stint, especially if you're at a top club. It's reliable, it's proven. So Victor Osimhen would be the number one go-to guy, but unfortunately, people, we are not getting Victor Osimhen. So let's put that out of the conversation. So like, subscribe, and let's turn our attentions to realistic players. The first one we're going to talk about is 22 years of age. It's Benjamin Sesko. Now, we know that he was linked to Arsenal. We know that they were reportedly in talks with him for 75 million, but they've withdrawn from that deal, and it looks like Arsenal are now going to pursue Victor Gyökeres, who should be done within the next week or two. However, it still leaves Benjamin Sesko on the market. Now, this is a player that we were linked with a couple seasons ago, and he's gone to Leipzig, and he's done pretty well. I don't think he's set the world alight, but in this striker market right now, where it's a bit dense, he's one of the better options, should I say? So when you look at Benjamin Sesko, 23 years of age, very tall, slim, but them sort of profiles do quite well in the Premier League. It sort of gives me Edin Dzeko vibes. I think he's more mobile than Edin Dzeko, don't get it twisted. But you know them tall, sort of rangy strikers, I feel like they can do well in the Premier League because it can be quite physical. There are crosses into the box. And at the end of the day, he's 22 years of age, so he's only going to improve. He should only get better with experience, international caps, and playing a bit more under pressure, because he's at a team like Leipzig where, look, they're expected to qualify for the Champions League. They're expected to maybe push for a cup competition, but they're never expected to win the league. They're never expected to win the Champions League. So you can kind of use Leipzig as your stepping stone. You can kind of look at Leipzig as your sort of, okay, well, I'm here for now, but I know that I'm going to move on to bigger things if I do well. And I think that's where we're looking at it with Benjamin Sesko right now, because last season, 24-25 campaign in the league, 33 games, which obviously is a lot of fixtures. He only missed one in the Bundesliga, 13 goals, 5 assists, 18 returns. The year before that, 31 games, 14 goals, 2 assists. So he's been consistent around the 13-14 mark in the Bundesliga. I think as a striker in terms of Benjamin Sesko, his next bracket and next target will be like, right, I want to become a 20-goal striker, because I feel like he is a bit more of an old school player where he wants to score goals. 100%. He wants to score goals. His records for Sevilla at the moment in the UEFA Euro qualifying, 0 goals in 4 matches. In the qualifiers, he got 5 goals in 9 matches, which is a better return. Champions League, Benjamin Sesko last season, 4 goals in 8 games. So it shows that he had about a 50% strike rate in terms of goals in the Champions League. But is he the striker that people would want at Man United? I'm really 50-50 with him, because I feel like, personally, right, this is personally, So like when we signed Dimitar Berbatov, I remember we had Carlos Tevez at the time, and I love Tevez. I think Tevez is a brilliant player, and that was probably one of the main reasons City were able to then start catching us up, because they signed Tevez and he's got that mentality. But I prefer the Carlos Tevez over a Dimitar Berbatov. Ferguson obviously opted for a Dimitar Berbatov, a bit more of a slower player, brilliant first touch, a bit more elegant and smooth. But that's not my type of striker. Edin Dzeko at Man City, physical, a bit less mobility, but obviously they're technical, they're good in the air, they're strong. But again, not my type of striker. Benjamin Sesko is more mobile than Berbatov and Dzeko, but again, he's tall, he's rangy. But I don't know if he's that type of striker that's going to get in behind. Is he going to be able to take on a player 1v1? I like my strikers to be a bit more athletic, to have a bit more zoom around them, run the channels, bring others into play. I think Cesco can do that. But I just don't know now if we've got Acuna and Mbumo, that you then want Xerxes and Sesko as your number nines. I feel like Xerxes can bring you that sort of number 10 profile, holding it up, linking up play. Do you then need Sesko then as your other striker? Because are they too similar in terms of the lack of pace and movement in behind? That's the only thing I question with Sesko. And obviously at 22, you're then signing a player that is a bit unproven in terms of Premier League experience. He's 22, a bit raw again. You're relying on the potential. So then my question marks is Sesko. The upside is that you sign someone for 60, 70 million and they come in and really light it up in the Premier League. And at 22, they're only going to get better. And you're thinking, wow, we signed a bargain here, because if he stays for 4 or 5 seasons, does well, we're going to sell him for more. But also we get a great goal return in terms of the money spent. And we don't have to then sign a striker because you've got Sesko and Xerxes. So that is obviously the situation with Sesko. I think he'd be open to a Man United move. The wages wouldn't be too much. But that is an option that Man United can definitely consider. The second one I want to look at is Mr. Nicholas Jackson. Now, I know people are going to be like, no. Some people are like, no way. I'm not doing it. But I don't think Nicholas Jackson is as bad as what people make out. I think his finishing is not great. I think he could definitely improve on that, and he can. He's only 24. But I do think when I've watched Chelsea with him on the pitch, before João Pedro signed, this is last season, I do think Chelsea have been better. I do think they are more dangerous. They look more threatening. I think Jackson has quite a good all-round game. He does come off the left. He can come off the right. He can run centrally. He gets in behind. He presses defenders. Technically, he's actually decent. I just think his goal return and his missed chances overshadow his overall game. Now, I don't think Jackson's amazing. Don't get it twisted. I don't think, oh my God, Jackson's this amazing striker. But I do think he's better than what people believe he is. And that's just my personal opinion. I think he's a striker that if he actually took his moments in front of goal, we're looking at a player that could easily get 20 in the Premier League. That's how I look at Nicholas Jackson, because last season, he got 10 league goals in 30 games. The year before that, 14 goals in 35 games. So he's literally looking at just less than half, 40%. But look at the missed chances he has. Jackson misses some gilt-edged chances that should be at least adding 7 or 8 to his tally. Let's be realistic, 7 or 8. So you add 7 or 8 to 23, 24, you're looking at about 20, 22 goals. You add 7 or 8 to last season, you're looking at 18 goals in the league, which is a decent return, especially if you've got other players like Cole Palmer stepping in, Enzo Fernandez, Pedro Neto, or Madueke when he was there. And now you're going to add João Pedro, Liam Delap to that. Like, Chelsea have obviously got attackers, and Jackson is now going to fall behind in the pecking order potentially because the impact of João Pedro, but also Delap coming in as well, who has the physical prowess, is an English striker as well. Where is Jackson now going to fit into it? Does that now leave him open for a move to Manchester United? I think the big problem for me is not signing Jackson. I'll be happy to take the risk and see how it goes, but for a lower fee or a loan. A loan option would be brilliant because then it's like, right, okay, we don't have to keep him. But if it does work out, brilliant, we have an obligation to sign, or like we have first preference to sign, or a low fee. You're looking at something like 30 million, 35 million. Chelsea will not let him go for that. But if it was for me and how Chelsea fans don't really rate him, the board obviously don't really rate him by signing 2 strikers, then we'll get rid of him then. You don't obviously admire him or think he's as good as what you thought he was. So cash in. Chelsea are not exactly begging for big money. They're okay financially. So if Jackson was available for 35 million at 24 years of age, I'll be willing to take the risk because I've seen enough of his overall profile to think that he can add something to Man United, because if we look at Mbumo, Cunha and Bruno, they can get him running in behind. He'll have a profile that can suit them. He can drop in at times as well, Jackson, but he also can play on the shoulder. So he proper mixes up our attack. He gives us a bit of a different dimension. I know we might have the frustrations of Højlund of missing chances as well, and Jackson could potentially do that. But I feel like at least Jackson gives you something more with the all-round game. I don't think he's the complete profile, and I'm like, yes, I'm sold on Jackson, but I wouldn't be as against it as I think other people would. That's just my personal preference with it. However, I don't think he'd be my number one choice, because this man would. Ollie Watkins. Now, I've been against this signing for a little while, but the longer time has gone on, the more I've become, Watkins. 2 years of Watkins. Plugs the gap, fills the void. We can then focus on other areas. Maybe we sell Watkins to Saudi or wherever he goes after that, cool, we can reinvest in a striker. But I think Watkins might just be the smartest solution for Man United when it comes to signing a striker this summer. Because I've said it for a while now, Man United need Premier League proven players. Watkins is 100% that. You know, last year, 16 goals in 38 games, fully fit, never injured. 19 goals in 37 the year before that, 15 and 37 the year before that, consistently over the 15 mark in between 15, 20. And at 29 years of age now, he's at his peak. You could say, some people say slightly on the way down in terms of his pace, but in terms of Premier League proven, consistency, injury record, as a 2-year punt, it's probably your safest bet for Manchester United, especially if you can get him for around 40 million. Because obviously today's market price has gone up of players. Villa probably value him about 40 million. He's their main striker right now. Obviously, they've got Morgan Rogers and so forth in behind. You know, John Duran's left. 40 million for Watkins, get him for 2 years, bridge the gap, give us consistency. There's not much better out there. I don't know if guys, find out in the comments for me if you disagree. But I think in terms of someone like Ollie Watkins, who is an England international, very used to the Premier League, can run in behind, can hold it up, can finish at times. Yes, he misses chances as well. All these strikers, apart from Cesco, maybe I haven't watched enough of, but Watkins, Jackson, they miss chances, but they also can score. But it's also, what can they do in terms of facilitating other players? Watkins, Mbumo, and Cunha, I think that works really well. I really do think that can work. I can see it. Them not interchanging, transition, a bit of pace, a bit of technical ability. I think Watkins could be the safest bet for Manchester United right now, and I've grown to understand it now, because big up Cass, because if you know Cass from Never a Foul, my other channel, then he said about Watkins to me for a while, and I was like, nah. I was like, you're smoking. But now I'm like, you know what, Cass? Maybe you was right. Because I do think that this is a player right now that can bridge the gap for a couple of years. We know what we're getting as Manchester United fans. So you're not really going to be having to look, oh, is he going to be reliable? Is he going to do this? Or what type of player is he? We've all seen Ollie Watkins. We've all gone to the shop and ordered a tin of beans, and you get your beans and toast. That's Ollie Watkins. You know what you're getting. So maybe this might be the striker that Man United have to turn to. The negative is obviously we don't want to be overpriced. We don't want to be looking at 50 million plus if we haven't really got the funds. He turns 30 in December, so he could start regressing physically. I know players look after themselves now, and 30 is not exactly old, but, 29, 30, 31. If we can get a good few years out of Watkins, I think we can get a good return. We're playing one game in the league, so he stays fresh each week. You've got Xerxes, the other option, and they're two different profiles. I think this could be the move that Manchester United have to make. And I think Villa will be open to selling, because right now we've seen that he's not started every game for Aston Villa. He started to become a bit more of a squad-ish player. Rashford was playing up top last year for them. Unai Emery preferred him towards the end of the season. And Watkins became a bit frustrated with that. So I do think he's attainable. Who would turn down a move to Manchester United? Hardly anyone, despite the position we're in. Cunha, Mbumo, Watkins or Xerxes up top. I think that's the option Manchester United need to look at right now. But guys, get your likes in, get your comments in. Let me know what you think. Please make sure you hit the subscription and notification bell. I really do appreciate it, and likes are invaluable. So if you have enjoyed this, please make sure you check out more content, and I'll see you on the other side soon. Thank you.